Meditation for the real world. Practical meditation you can integrate into your busy, hectic day. So you don't have to sit for 20 minutes, set aside a cushion on the floor and perfect silence. You can have these little moments through your day, these 1-minute meditations that have a big impact. I came to yoga because I had a lot of anxieties.
From the city of Peaky Blinders, Birmingham, England, I would like to introduce you to Paddy Danda.
As the world becomes more automated and the robots take over, it's imperative that we build the right human skills for the future. So pull up a chair, grab a samosa or two, and make yourself very uncomfortable. I get a sense of an American accent, so could you share where you're calling us from today?
I am in Hawaii and the sun has not even come up yet. So there's roosters crowing in the background. I don't think you can hear it with the microphone, but yes, it is very early here.
Oh, wow. So I'm from Birmingham, city of the Peaky Blinders, and I think there's no competition there. Hawaii or Birmingham, like I know where I'd rather want to be right now. I'm really curious to know, was that a place that you were born in or did you go there later on in life? And what's the story behind that?
My story is actually, I came here on vacation toward the end of COVID after lockdown. I had released my book, Science of Yoga, right before COVID, and it was translated into 15 languages. So I planned this world tour where I was going to be traveling and going to Japan and to Germany and all over the world to teach from Science of Yoga. And then the pandemic hit and that got canceled right after my first stop in South America. And I ended up in my mom's basement for that time because I sold everything I owned to travel the world. I had nothing. I had nowhere to live. And then I was pretty sick of that by a certain point. So I was like, I'm going to go on vacation to Hawaii. I think it'll be better. And it kept being great and I kept staying. So 3 weeks turned into 3 years.
Wow, what a story. Talking about yoga, what is the superpower you're bringing to this particular episode?
Well, yoga brought me to something that had an even bigger impact. And it's the aspect of yoga that's meditation. I came to yoga for the physical practice, but the meditation was really where a lot of the magic happened for me, being a very anxious person naturally and since I was a child. And so the superpower I have to bring to the table is meditation, but not just any meditation for the real world. Practical meditation you can integrate into your busy, hectic day. So you don't have to sit for 20 minutes, set aside a cushion on the floor and perfect silence. You can have these little moments through your day, these 1-minute meditations that have a big impact.
Oh, I like that. And thank you so much for sending me the book. I've got a copy as well. And I was saying to you just before we kicked off, I'm going to be going on holiday soon. So I'm going to definitely be taking it with me and reading it on the beach. I was flicking through the book and it looks super practical in terms of the advice. And I will do a more thorough review, hopefully once I've read it. And I'll let my listeners know what I thought of it. But I am super excited about that. Now, you mentioned you've taken a slightly different angle with meditation, giving people this much more practical way of doing it for the busy life that we have. Yeah. And I can say, as a technologist, we're always just on the go, completely on the go, and things are so busy on projects and just work generally. So I think there's a lot of value that my listeners will get out of this. Now, if we rewind a little bit, how did you get into yoga and where did your journey start with that?
Yeah, I came to yoga because I myself had a lot of anxiety, social anxiety. When I'd go to the doctor's office, I would pass out, extreme anxiety. And the physical practice of yoga is what first attracted me. But then there's other elements to the practice, the breathing practices and the meditative practices that it took me a while to get into. Like I was in the yoga classes and I felt like I got my workout. And then by the end of class, you lie down or you sit down and meditate. And I'd be looking at my watch like, it is time to go. I have things to do. I don't have time for this. I just didn't understand the benefit. But then teachers would introduce specific techniques that really worked for me, that gave me a glimpse of what it's like to let go, to relax, to focus in a relaxed way, which we can really define meditation as focusing in a relaxed way. And so once I got these little glimpses, I started to do more, and it's gotten me through some really tough times.
In terms of the science behind meditation, could you share some of those insights? Because we often hear experts talking about meditation as being really good for us. And I'm sure it is, but I think to convince some skeptics, do we have some hard facts that we can share?
Yeah, there's been an exponential growth of research on meditation, and I actually teamed with Dr. Sarah Lazar on this book. And she is a Harvard neuroscientist that puts people in those fancy fMRI scanners and looks at their brain activity and their brain structure and sees how it changes over time. And that's one big area, is that your brain structures and activity change for the better. As we age and when we deal with trauma and depression, anxiety, chronic pain, specific areas of our brain start to degrade. Actually, as we age, our whole brain degrades and gets a little smaller. Like my 99-year-old grandpa, his brain is smaller now than it was when he was 30 years old. It just tends to get smaller as we age. And the areas that have to do with focus and memory, those areas in particular degrade. And meditation directly rebuilds activity and connectivity and tissue in those areas. From as short as 8 weeks of practice to years of practice will make that difference. So it can preserve your ability to focus and have that good working memory. It can help with that. And meditation gives us something called meta skills, which is your ability to think about thinking. That's metacognition. Or your awareness of being aware. That's meta awareness. And researchers on learning say that this is really going to help you learn to learn everything better. You become a better learner. You become able to focus better, be more present, so quicker in thinking. Also really good for mental health. That's one of the biggest areas, as well as cardiovascular health, another really big area of research. And all the systems of your body, even at a cellular level, are improved, it seems, through meditation. And we have less sick days at work. We stay sick less time. We get better quicker. So that's also a really great thing. And we sleep better. That's been one of the biggest impacts for me, is my sleep, especially tied with anxiety and chronic pain that I've dealt with. Improving sleep helps both of those things. And then improving both of those things, anxiety and chronic pain, improves my sleep. And that just creates this nice cycle of feeling better.
There's so many benefits there that you just mentioned. I was going to pick on the benefit of better focus, because I do a lot of work to help teams focus more, whether that's in meetings or just generally trying to stay more engaged at work, especially when we're doing deep thinking work. It's so easy for us to get distracted. How can meditation help with retaining focus?
Yeah, so meditation is a type of flow state. It can get you into that flow state where you're completely immersed and present. And other activities in our daily life, we want to get into that flow state, right? We want to, when we're working on a work project, when we're writing something, we want to be super creative, completely immersed, not distracted. And meditation is like boot camp for your focus. So it helps you be able to get into flow state quicker and stay there longer, sustain it. And I like to do these 1-minute meditations right before I do a work project, before I do a lot of writing. So before I write, I will do a little bit of movement, some yoga in my chair at the desk. And then I'll turn my chair around. You have a rolly chair, turn it around away from the screen. You can close your eyes or keep them open. That's up to you. Sit tall. And if you're sitting now, you can join for a moment and just pause. Take a powerful pause before you begin and bring your awareness to your physical sensations inside your body. Maybe that'll prompt you to readjust your posture to sit a little taller. Maybe it'll prompt you to breathe a little different. Notice what happens when you pay attention to your physical sensations. With the inhale, invite in inspiration. And with the exhales, release out distractions, that which isn't serving you, things that are not in this moment for this project. And just do that for the next few breaths. It could be up to a minute. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 30 seconds. It doesn't matter. Taking that powerful pause is going to make you be able to turn back and focus better when you get back to your activity or your meeting or your interview or whatever you have on your plate.
When you mentioned yoga, I got a bit scared because I was thinking in my mind, do I now need to learn yoga and then meditate, or can you break the two apart? Are they the same thing or are they separate?
Meditation comes from all over the world, all different cultures, all different traditions. It has stood the test of time, and multiple locations have come up with it or discovered it or intuited it throughout the world and throughout time. It has stood the test of time because it works. Now, yoga is a system that has 8 limbs. And if we really break it down, like 4 of them are meditation. So when we think of yoga in the West, we're thinking of like the poses, but that's only 1/8 of the whole practice. The meditative practices are really the most of it, but it doesn't have to be through yoga that meditation is done. It's through many different cultures and systems.
Oh, so that's interesting to hear because I don't normally hear people talking about meditation without the yoga part. You always see them in these poses and they get you to follow along. And I say that because my mum's really big on yoga. She watches all these Indian programs where they've got these yoga teachers teaching you some of this stuff. And they do all this where they put one thumb on the nose and breathe in through one side and then they breathe out through the other.
That's in the book, actually. You don't have to do the whole yoga practice to do that breathing practice. Yeah. The breathing practices prepare you for meditation. They help you get like deeper in focus. So doing a dedicated breathing practice for a minute or so before a work project or before an important meeting can be really helpful too, because we have immediate physiological effects when we do these breathing practices. We calm our nervous system, we slow our heart rate, lower our blood pressure, and get into a sense of like clarity, a state of calm and presence so that you can handle high stress things or high creative things where you have to problem solve in that moment.
I hear a lot of self-help gurus talking about breath work and how breath work can really help you. Could you share a bit more about that? Because it sounds like breathing is really important.
Yeah, it really is. The first thing is you want to nose breathe. So a lot of times during the day, we start to mouth breathe, and that does not filter the air well. Actually, when we nose breathe, we release nitric oxide into our nasal cavities, which helps us to relax better and balances the chemicals in the air better. So we want to nose breathe. So catch yourself if you have your mouth open and nose breathe. Second of all is that a breathing practice is super simple that you can do anytime, anywhere. And honestly, nobody needs to know that you're doing it. You can even be doing it while you're conversing with somebody, while you're listening to somebody. Is you're going to elongate your exhales. Make them longer than your inhales. You can go for double. If you do a 2-count inhale, 4-count exhale, or 3-count inhale, 6-count exhale, it doesn't have to be double. It could be 4-count inhale, 6-count exhale. You can, as you're listening to this, kind of experiment with that and make it about double. Once you get the hang of the count, you don't have to count it. Some people love to count. It really keeps you present. You're going to feel that immediate physiological effect when you elongate your exhales. It's like that relaxing feeling we feel when we're singing a hymn or singing happy birthday with people in a group. When you're singing, you are naturally elongating your exhales. It's very good for you in many ways. And when we do this, it activates our vagus nerve, which helps us to go into this rest and digest and rejuvenate and calm and connected sort of state. So it's really beneficial for you to just simply elongate your exhales. And I do this like through the day in little activities, whether I'm listening to somebody, I'll go consciously into that, or as a little breathing break, or even as a break, we mindlessly do these activities through the day. Like I go to the bathroom so many times a day, and especially in a public restroom, it's stressful. There's people around you, there's noises. So when I wash my hands, rather than singing happy birthday to some imaginary person, I'll inhale for 4 counts and exhale for 6 counts twice. That's how long you're supposed to wash your hands. And so it gives me this powerful pause, this breathing break right there while I'm washing my hands. I notice my posture gets better when I do it too. I'm not just slouching and thinking of something else. So integrating these into your life, these breathing practices, nobody even needs to know you're doing them.
I definitely need to get better at breathing, because I've also heard when we breathe, we don't breathe properly. Like every breath we take, we don't really breathe deeply. It's very top level.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Top level, like you said, the stress breath, the upper chest breath. So what I want you to do is bring your breath down. You can bring your hands straight to the lower ribs right above your belly button, and you want to allow those lower ribs to expand, which will make your abdomen expand with the inhale. And then it goes down and inward with the exhales. So we're taught to suck it in and to not let the belly move with the breath, but we want to do these belly breaths or abdominal breaths and allow that movement. That means we're getting our full lung capacity, but also there's a muscle that separates your chest area from your abdominal cavity, and it's the diaphragm. And when you inhale, it should go down and massage all your organs and push your organs out. That's why your belly expands. And when you exhale, it should go up. But a lot of us is just frozen, and we're just doing these shallow upper chest breaths. So bringing the breath down in meditation, in your breathing breaks, and in your everyday life, right? These practices are practice for how we breathe in everyday life. Bringing the breath down can make a huge difference. It helps you be more relaxed. And if you ever watch like a baby or a dog breathe, or your cat, their belly moves. That's naturally how we're supposed to breathe. We've just been told to suck it in, and we lose that with these stress breaths.
I definitely need to get more conscious about how I breathe. And it's one of those things, you start off with good intention and you know it's the right thing, but then you switch back into the old ways of the bad habits. How do you stop yourself from doing that? Is there a way? Is there any tips on that?
Yeah. So meditation and these breathing practices, there's something you learn, not something you're born with. Of course, we're supposed to belly breathe. We're born with that. We are unlearning. But these practices that we do, we learn them. It's like reading, right? When you learn how to read, it expands your whole world. And that's basically what this is. It's a skill that you learn. So if you feel like, oh, I'm bad at meditating, my mind wanders too much, well, that's the point. It's boot camp for your focus. You're training that wandering mind. That's reason to meditate. And even the most advanced meditators, their minds wander, right? So the way we do it is we practice. And the best way to build a meditation and a breathing practice, in yoga, it's called pranayama, but in the West, we often call it breath work, as you said. The best way to build these practices based off of science is to integrate them into your everyday life, into an activity you already have a strong habit of, something you're already going to do, right? So if you want to have a more formal meditation and breathing practice, even if it's just 5 minutes, that totally counts. Then maybe in the morning, every day, you make your coffee or your tea. And as it's brewing, as you smell it brewing, you sit it down. And before you take your first sip, maybe you even see the sunrise, or you can see the light of the sunrise. Before you take your first sip, you then do your practice. That's going to set yourself up for success rather than scrolling in the morning, right? And scrolling while you're drinking that coffee. So you can also integrate it, as I've been saying, these 1 minute meditations into something you already know you're going to do. That working in tech, that you're going to be having some stressful emails or interactions. And so you look at that stressful email and maybe you draft your response. And before you press send, turn that chair around, check in with your body, sit tall, breathe, elongate your exhales, notice what's coming up, then turn back around. I promise you'll be able to get back to that email with a greater sense of clarity. You'll know what the right thing to do is, because we know what to do. Our body tells us what to do in every single situation. We're just not always listening, right? we have a heavy heart or an open heart. We have butterflies in our stomach, or we have like knots in our stomach. Like our physical body is constantly telling us what to do, but we're not listening. So practice. The answer is practice, and integrate it into every time I feel anxious reading an email, I'm going to meditate. Every time before I go into a meeting, I'm going to try to arrive early so that I'm not late, right? And before I press accept, I'm going to take that powerful pause. I'm going to check in with my body. You're going to be a lot more present for that meeting and a lot more patient too.
Oh, brilliant. And I was thinking about if I was going to start a routine of meditation, at least to begin with, could you recommend like almost a meditation workout that I can then follow for a few days just to get me into it and then make it a little bit easier? Because you obviously shared a couple of activities with us.
Well, I think a lot of beginners need a guided meditation. So along with the book, if you go to meditationfortherealworld.com, your listeners get audio guided meditations, and they are sequential, meaning they start from the basics and work your way up for just about 2 weeks. And so that can help you build the meditation practice in less than 10 minutes a day. Some of them are even shorter. And I even use music that is engineered to optimize your brain waves. So if you find that music and sound helps you to be present, then this could be something really different for you. So I use the science of that too. And so I'd suggest getting the book because it has those practices, and it has practices for focus, for anxiety, for overwhelm from doom scrolling, for mourning the loss of a loved one, whatever situation you're dealing with, you can go into in the book. And then those practices, those guided meditations, those will support you in developing that practice.
I really like the way you've set the book out. I was looking at the contents page and I'm looking at it right now, in that you mentioned those top level categories, and the way you've even titled the chapters are actionable challenges that we might be having on a day-to-day basis. So feeling anger and frustration, depression and feeling down, right? These are all things that affect all of us, like improving your concentration and focus, as you mentioned, fighting fatigue, boosting your memory. Like, I really do like that. I think it's almost a bit of a playbook that you can then say, right, if I'm feeling this way, how do I combat that? I can jump straight to that chapter and start looking at some of the tips and advice in there.
Yeah, it's more like a handbook. So you can read chapter 1, which will give you the overview of the science behind it and the benefits and like, what do I do with my hands? How do I breathe when I meditate? All the common questions. And then you just keep it on your bedside or on your coffee table. It's really a coffee table book because I worked with a New York Times illustrator, and the colors and the illustrations make it a book that you just keep out and you open for inspiration. So it's more of a handbook, not like you read from cover to cover, but you find the part that you need for that day, that situation. And there's different meditations for each, because you wouldn't always do the same exact meditation for every circumstance, right? It's going to be different for anxiety versus depression, or if you want to build energy versus calm your energy. Sometimes we want to build up energy and feel more energetic before a project. So there's different techniques for different things.
Could you just expand on that a little bit for me? Because I probably don't understand the different approaches for those two things. So if I want to build energy, like how is that breathing different to when I want to calm down? What are some of those nuances between those?
Yeah, I would find the page because there's a beautiful chart that shows you, but it would take me too long. So I'll just explain. So breathing practices, meditations, even like if you wanted to do some yoga poses, they're going to be different if you're feeling like in that afternoon time when you're feeling like, okay, I could have my coffee right now, but I know that's going to ruin my sleep tonight. So I need more energy to get through my day. I have two choices. I can either basically bust through it, build my energy and get through the day, kind of like use breathing practices and movements like a cup of coffee. Or, you know what, maybe I need rest. Maybe I need like a nap. There's even a meditation that's like a nap that's really popular right now. The Google CEO does this an SDR or yoga nidra sort of meditation where you lie down and it's like a nap. You're guided through step by step what to do for 20 minutes or so. And you actually go into delta brain waves, which are typically only seen in deep sleep. You get right into that for many people. And you can have that rejuvenation effect as if you're taking a nap. And then you can come back with more clarity and creativity. So you might need to rest and calm down. Some other breathing practices that would help you in that, like if you needed to calm down, rest, and recuperate category, is you could elongate the exhales like we did earlier. That's going to help you release and calm down. You could do some like gentle yoga poses that are just like long held sort of yoga poses, a stretch that's more long held. And then another one we can do right now is you can take I'm using my right thumb on my right nostril. This is similar to what you mentioned earlier, but we're just going to cover the right nostril. Just cover it up so that you're not breathing through it, and just breathe through your left nostril. This actually has been shown to encourage that parasympathetic nervous system activity, or that rest, digest, and rejuvenate when we go into left nostril breathing. Through the day, our nostrils switch back and forth just naturally through our activities, but we're going to try to shift the dominance to left nostril, which activates the right side of our brain and puts us into that relaxed state. And you might notice it just from doing a few breaths.
Do you breathe back out through your mouth or through the nostril?
I shut my mouth. The nose is for breathing, the mouth is for eating. That's what they say in India. Some breathing practices, they'll have you use your mouth, but usually only a brief period. And like you said, an exhale, maybe like a couple breaths that way. But most of the time, no. Most of the time, shut your mouth. Unless you're stuffed up like you have cold, then of course your mouth is your backup so that you can live. But we really want to breathe through the nose because it filters the air in the proper way. And so if you want to build energy, there's different breathing practices you can do. You could stand up and do a sun salutation or some warrior poses, lunges. If you don't know yoga poses, you could do some exercises that are like bigger and standing and get the largest muscles in your body moving for a moment. That's going to send blood flow to those areas and to your brain to help you wake up. And then you're going to do the opposite. We're going to cover our left nostril. We usually use our like right ring finger to cover it, but it doesn't really matter. You could use whatever you want to cover your left nostril. And you're going to right nostril breathe. And I emphasize the inhales a little bit more now. So before we emphasize the exhales, now we're going to emphasize the inhales. Get a little taller in your posture. Sit taller, right? Feel more energetic even in your posture and breathe with the inhales, inspiration. This is going to be more energizing. And then our focus for our meditation will probably be eyes open, perhaps and looking up at something, versus if I was trying to calm down, I would close my eyes. I might even lie down in that example I gave, right? So the posture is going to change in what you're doing. If you're trying to cultivate more energy or to calm down, to recuperate so you can get more energy. So we can use these ancient practices and the science of them that supports that they change our physiology for our advantage rather than having that coffee. I had a real problem. I would have coffee in the afternoon and my sleep would be horrible every time. Even if it was like 1 or 2 p.m. in the afternoon, I noticed my sleep scores were lower. I was able to fall asleep, but the sleep score was not as good. And so I've been really trying to stop before noon and check in the afternoon. What do I really need right now?
And I don't do much physical activity. I don't go to the gym, which is something I do want to change, but I do go jogging every now and again. And I was just wondering, can you use these practices for those sort of more physical types of activity that you do? Like, what could I do if I'm jogging?
Yeah. So there's a whole section in the book about what to do before like sport or your workout or your physical activity. You can do a dynamic warm up, right? You definitely want to be doing a warm up before your jog. So you're going to do a dynamic warm up and you're going to be mindful and notice your breath and take just 5 minutes before your warm up, before your jog, to check in with your body, to arrive. And that can be your meditation practice and your breathing practice, right? You're going to try to take deeper breaths. We need to take deep breaths when we're breathing and it becomes more strained and difficult. So practice that before your jog. Also, if you're playing a sport, you want to visualize success. This is a meditative technique that Olympic athletes use to win the Olympics they visualize themselves going through their routine or doing their sport and doing it successfully, doing it smoothly. They do that over and over again. So a lot of times you'll see them before they take the stage or go on the track, you'll see them like closing their eyes and like, they're not just thinking, they're visualizing. That's a type of meditation. And we've seen in the research that's really beneficial for those physical activities. But we also know in business and in life that visualizing success is beneficial. So that can be your meditation too. So there's ways you can integrate it into your life. And I love that running example you gave. The running, it's be present. With each step on the ground, you can feel more and more present. Notice your surroundings. Notice the trees. Take in your 5 senses. There's a walking meditation in the book, and I'm wondering how this would be to take into running. Thich Nhat Hanh says that when you're doing a walking meditation, so you're just mindfully walking, with each step to imagine you're the happiest person on earth. What would it be like to walk as the happiest person on earth? I love this one. Because then you start walking, and in your case, perhaps run. What would it be like to run as the happiest person on earth, right? How would that feel? And you start to visualize it and feel it and muster up those feelings and feel gratitude. It's really profound practice to have that focus while you're walking, and I would imagine while you're running.
It's so ironic you say that, because I have this thing about positive energy and I love to try and create smiles on other people. And sometimes when I'm running, I try this little experiment in my own head and I challenge myself to see how many smiles I get back during my run. So every time I come across someone who's walking their dog or they're just minding their own business, I'll smile at them. And 9 times out of 10, I get a smile back, even though we haven't said anything. And so I love that sort of notion of feeling really happy and seeing how you can impact the world, because I think there's just something in that, isn't there? When you let out that positive energy, others can also benefit from that.
Yeah, and I have a new experiment for you. This one really works too. It's a meditation practice, a compassion meditation practice called loving kindness. You send good wishes to people. And traditionally, I have the full traditional practice. There's a routine to it that you send good wishes to certain people, and there's certain things you say, but you can be really any good wishes. So in your head while running, look at a person. You can smile or not. It'd be interesting to see the experiment and just like, maybe you don't want to look and be super creepy, but like, I don't know, find a way that you can do this experiment. Maybe you'll smile and say in your head, may you be safe. May you be happy. Send that actual message. I find that part of the meditation is you do this to a stranger, you imagine a stranger. Whenever I think of a stranger or like somebody, like the security guard I was thinking of in my meditation at my last apartment building, and I was imagining her safe. May she be happy. May she be free from suffering. And I was sending her these good wishes. And then like she'd never paid any mind to me. She started being so nice to me and like big smiles every time I'd see her standing up. And I was like, whoa, this really works. Just sending those positive vibes and energy. So try that in your run too. Send them good vibes.
Sending good vibes. I love that. That's super cool. The other thing I do a lot of, and I'm sure people listening have to deal with, is preparing for either a presentation or an important meeting. Is there similar techniques for those sort of situations, or is there any other advice that we could offer people for that?
Yeah, so it depends. You want to be really focused or really creative? Give me a scenario.
Yeah, I'd say part of it is focused, but also relaxed, because it's quite an anxious moment because you're about to stand in front of some important people, or it could be a big crowd of people.
Yes. So one thing is that before we speak, our heart will go faster, right? Our blood pressure will rise up. You are going to release cortisol and adrenaline, these stress hormones. This is natural. This is actually good. So when you start noticing these things happening, you start sweating a little bit. The first reaction is, oh my God, I'm stressed. This is bad. My body's betraying me. I'm not going to be able to perform at my peak. But actually, if you can reframe it, this is your body rising to the challenge. rather than sending blood flow to like your fingertips, like when you're relaxed and I don't know, knitting or something, when you're very articulate and doing something like that, it's sending blood flow to your brain in the prefrontal cortex. It's sending blood flow to your thighs. Like historically it'd be so that you could run, but like here in this circumstance, it's so that you can stand tall and be present. So your body, your heart rate is rising to help you be more present and alert to the challenges. That's what those stress hormones are doing. So first thing is recognizing that all of that's natural and it's good and that this is important. That's why your body's responding this way. So the next thing is I tend to ground down to rise up. So feel your feet on the ground if you're standing, right? If you're sitting somewhere too, you could feel the points of contact of your body on the surfaces supporting you. Ground down and feel how when you press into those surfaces, you can get a little taller. Feel how that helps you rise up. That'll affect your posture. Having better posture is going to help you breathe better. It's going to help you be more focused. It's going to help distribute that blood flow better. So we want to have that better posture too. So this can be like, nobody even needs to know you're meditating, right? Maybe you're standing right there before walking out on stage. Or before doing your talk, ground down to rise up. And then from there, I would do those elongated exhales to get nice and relaxed that we practiced already. So elongate your exhales, a few slow exhales, and then you're ready to go.
Oh, brilliant. Because I've got a few talks coming up and I will be definitely reading those chapters in the book to help me create some of my meditation routines. So thank you for that. And as we finish up, I was wondering, like, you must work with a lot of people. You must have lots of clients, people that you've helped. What are some of the more memorable outcomes or stories that you could share with us in terms of how you've helped transform somebody from where they were to then in a much better state?
I work with a lot of people with chronic pain, which I've actually dealt with since I was a teenager. And so I know it well. And when you deal with chronic pain, your sleep tends to be affected. You have a hard time like with anxiety, the anxiety that comes up around like, oh, my pain is flaring. Now everything's ruined. I'm getting this migraine. This whole day is going to be ruined. So a lot of it is like catching yourself in those moments, catching yourself with the story around the pain, right? Our minds are constantly chattering and speaking to us. That's normal. If you feel like you have a busy mind, that's completely normal. I teach meditation to people with busy minds that are very busy, right? Like it's normal. Your mind's constantly chattering, but noticing it rather than getting involved in that conversation and like stepping back and just becoming an observer. Like it's not necessarily true, all of that chatter in our head. Meditation is not stopping your thoughts. Meditation is stopping believing your thoughts. Thoughts are not facts. Thoughts are not necessarily true. Our brain has a negativity bias for a reason. It's to keep us safe, right? So we don't have to believe it. And I think that's the biggest thing is like when dealing with chronic pain, meditation is one of the biggest things that has shown to help because pain is a misconception of the signals from your nervous system. It's a nervous system issue when it becomes chronic. And so meditation is one of the best antidotes to help with chronic pain. And it's helped with my own pain and with countless clients.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. My brother-in-law recently, he had really bad back pain and he could just about walk and he's a lot better now, but I've faced that myself. I had sciatica for a while, that sciatic nerve, and it's extremely painful. I don't wish that on anyone. And I think if there is any kind of help that people can get from meditation, then they should definitely check it out because I tried everything and nothing was helping. And a friend of mine who does yoga, she actually suggested a couple of moves and I just started doing those and it really helped me. And I'm sure breathing had a part to play as well in that.
Yeah. Yes. The combination of the different ways of approaching the pain and meditation being a critical aspect of that. Of course, you have sciatica, a great example, or back pain. There are yoga poses and movements and working with a physical therapist that can help. It's just that meditation will also support that as an integral part of the process.
Oh, brilliant. So as we finish up, and I'm going to ask you one of my favorite questions. if I could give you any superpower to abolish something in the world of work, what might that be? And we're going to abolish it for 24 hours.
I think it's the commute. It's something interesting I see in people that are like chill and cool and nice people in general. If they are in traffic or somebody cuts them off, road rage comes out, even to the nicest people. It is so stressful, the commute for people. My partner used to have to commute a lot, like an hour every day to work, and it really stressed him out. And now he commutes 30 seconds from the bedroom to the living room. And the relaxation, it's just, oh. But I do, because of that, I have a meditation for road rage in the book that truly works, because we were dealing with that in our family. Because even the nicest of people deal with road rage. It's not good for your own health.
Oh, wow. I totally agree with you. I see this when I'm doing the school run in the morning. And yeah, people get really emotional. They get really sensitive about just trying to get somewhere on time. And it's this thing that I face it now. I've started doing it at times when I'm like, oh my God, can you not just hurry up? When actually it doesn't matter. I'm probably going to, save 5 minutes. And is that really going to make any difference? So thank you so much for that. And finally, if people want to get in touch with you, if people want to get the book, where can they find that? And please give us some details.
Yeah, if you go to meditationfortherealworld.com, you'll find all the links to get the book wherever you'd like in whatever country. And then also you'll get that meditation challenge with the music that's engineered to optimize your brain waves and the systematic science-backed approach. So these are not like any other meditations you've done before. They're real world, practical with results.
Thank you so much. And like I said, I'm going to be checking out the book whilst I'm on holiday, and I will share some of my thoughts and findings from the book, and I'll let you know if my road rage disappears. So yeah, you'll have a testimonial from me if that all works. But thank you so much. And I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing some amazing insights. I think we all focus on other aspects of our lives, but we rarely focus on ourselves. And I think this is a great way for us to make that start. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's the end of another episode. Thank you so much for listening. Please do connect with me via LinkedIn and drop me a message and let me know your favorite takeaways from the episode. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Superpower School newsletter so that you can be notified of all future episodes. Simply visit the website www.superpowers.school. Thank you once again.